So welcome everybody. It's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Lydia Leung. She is from a unique group of individuals who are alumni of our bachelor, master's and PhD program. I'm not sure how many are in the group, but it may only be 4 or 5 people who have done all 3 degrees here. So I knew Lydia as an undergrad, and I was a co-supervisor as a master's, and then you did your PhD with Kevin Chen. So well done. When she graduated from here, she worked for Astri and became the director of the optoelectronics division, and then after 9 years decided that there's more to life than working for somebody else, and now is working for herself in a new company, Belun. So thank you, Lydia, and take it away, please.
Okay, here indeed, I think as mentioned by Ross, 1995 is more than 20 years ago. I was like you, sitting here. Yeah, and indeed I started my journey in HKUST back in 1995. So use your finger, then you know how old I am. And then I get my bachelor in 1998, which is exactly 20 years ago. Okay, but before I joined UST, the reason why I joined UST is because here has a very good research school. And so at that moment, I chose UST in my bachelor. And so very directly, I start my MPhil in 1998. And then so I got my MPhil in 2000 and related to wireless communication system. So at that moment, Roger and Ross are my supervisors for my MPhil thesis. And then after I graduate, indeed, I do not plan for my PhD degree. Okay, I never thought that I will got a PhD degree. And so after I graduate, I joined Perception Digital, which is a startup in UST. And also thanks to the invitation of Roger, I joined this company. But after I worked there for more than 1 year, a bit, then I found that I'm still enjoying reading papers and also doing research. And that's the reason why at that moment, Perception Digital was just situated, I think, outside there and still in UST. So very conveniently, I look for my PhD supervisors, okay, in UST again. Okay, so I start my PhD back in 2001. And of course, it take me I need some leisure, okay, and also some entertainment. And that's why when I was studying in the PhD, and before I start my defense thesis, I take a semester break, okay? And of course, I need to thank my supervisor, Kelvin Chan, and also Ross, allowing me to take 3 months leave from Hong Kong, okay, doing nothing. At that moment, I think Kelvin thought that I was mad because I do nothing but to take the leave to go to South America. Okay, I went there for volunteer works for 3 months before I start writing anything for my thesis. Okay, and I went to South America, I think by the end of 2003. And then after that, when I come back, I of course focus on writing my thesis. And then I think I defended my thesis in in January 2005. Okay, so I got my PhD in 2005. And then I worked as postdoc for a few months in UST. And then, thanks to Professor K. May, she introduced me to my new boss in Astri. And that's the reason why I finally joined Astri. Because at that moment, I was struggling whether I would like to choose academic path or I want to join some applied research. If you have heard about Astri, indeed, Astri is a government-owned R&D institute, which is located in Science Park. Do you know where Science Park is? Yes, and they are located in Science Park. And in Astri, indeed, I have been in Astri for 11 years before I left there. Okay, the Astri is the only places that I stay longer than in UST. Okay, back in the time, you can see that I stay in UST start my journey in 1995 in UST. And then I think I left UST in 2005, which is 10 years. Okay, and then I spent 11 years in Astri. I hope that I will spend, no, I don't want to spend 12 years in Belun. Okay, in Astri. But when my time in Astri, indeed, I learned a lot. I know that recently there's a lot of graduate, after they graduate, no matter as master or a bachelor or PhD, they would like to start their own startup. Okay. But the experience that I usually share with the others talking about the startup is that I appreciate my time in S3. Yeah, because from S3, I learned a lot of soft skills that is needed when I run the startup. Okay. For example, when I was in S3, I also leading the technology roadmap or development of the group. But at the same time, very important is how I can identify the technologies that the market really needs. Okay. And also, secondly, is when I think of a new thing, how can I protect my IP? Okay. And how I can identify a new technologies, there is no infringement to the others. Okay, and I learned all these kind of new skills when I was in S3 that I could not be learned when I was in the time in HKUST because I was focusing on academic. Okay, and also when I was in S3, CUHK is very close to us. Okay, so I take another opportunities because of the closeness, and I take another degree in marketing. Again, that is back in 2011. Indeed, at that moment, I never thought that I will run a startup. Otherwise, I think I should take the MBA instead of the marketing. Okay. The reason why I take the marketing is because I found that after working in S3 for 4 to 5 years, I found that usually there's technology waiting for market. Okay, we always develop, we think, the world-class technologies, but they are inside the drawer, no one wants to license it, okay, and no one turn it into a product. So I start asking myself, what am I doing now? We do the research, in applied research, different from the university, is because we want to develop some technologies that people need, okay, or that can help the mankind. But I found that it's not the results. And so that's the reason why motivate me to get to study something related to business. Because even though in UST, when I have some time left, I will go to the business school to take some economic, that kind of subjects. Okay, but still, I have no sense about marketing. So I have know nothing about what the world or the market really needs. And so that's why I go back to school. And then I enjoyed that 2 years very much because usually in my mind, throughout the past 10 years, most are engineering stuff. Okay, my brain is full of engineering. Okay, I always think in the engineering point of view. And when I get into the business school, then it refreshed my mind. And it gives me a lot of impact and insights that I never thought when I was an engineer. And I share this with you is because I think it's quite important that you step out of your comfort zone. Okay, not just focus something that yourself is good at. At least to me, I'm not a very good marketing people. Okay, and so I would like to get into some area that I do not have knowledge before. And after that, of course, I left S3 in 2016. And when I left S3, indeed, I struggled quite a lot. Because during my stays in the past 11 years in S3, indeed, I am very lucky. I have very good interaction with the industry. And also, I have interaction with a lot of NGOs and also the government departments. The reason is that because I was working in a group which take care of the healthcare and also the medical device development for S3. Okay. And at that moment, because the government have some initiative related to healthy aging, okay, so I have worked together very closely with different government departments. And so when the news that I'm decided to leave S3 spread to the industry, then I received a lot of calls, okay, and starting asking where I'm going to join, which new company I'm going to join. So at that moment after I left S3, I go travel again because I need to make up my mind to determine right away, yes. I'm going to travel around again because I want to determine, because also before I left S3, indeed, I'm very lucky I come back to find Roger because I would like to think about what's next. okay? And he introduced a very good book to me, okay? And that book really inspired me. And I start to think about what should I do next, okay? And then after I traveled back, I met my ex-colleagues before, and they left S3 before me, okay? And they left S3 before me, and they formed a very small company, okay? That small company is indeed making some solution for customer, okay? Related something like the wristband, that kind of solution. And when I talk to them, I think they are very passionate. And so I help them to connect to the past investor who invest in the project, okay, when I was in S3, okay? And they are very excited because they think that, oh, I left S3, so what's going on for the project they have invested in S3, okay? Okay, and who's going to take care of it? And so I tell them that, oh, two passionate engineers has formed a company and to see whether they are interested to invest in the company. And they immediately say, why not? Okay. And start from that moment, I start to work with two engineers, okay? One in hardware, one in software. And also, of course, after I joined, and then after struggling for a while, I joined this company in August in 2016 and start the startup journey. And of course, I joined them as the CEO and helped them to bring up the whole company, and also very important, only one role, just like I was in S3, funding, right? In S3, my role in the past 10 years is to write proposal to ITC, to government, to get the funding, and then to get the salary paid for my colleagues. But it's okay in S3, even though you don't get project, then your colleagues will still be paid, okay? But my role now is quite different. Okay, later I'm going to share with you the photos of the office that we have when we just have 3 to 4 person. Okay, so we start the journey, and we start the fundraising activities for the company. But of course, there are a lot of obstacles. It doesn't like when I was in S3 before, because I mentioned when there is no funding, it's still fine, because we have the headquarters, okay? They were helping the salary for a few months or even half years, even though you don't have project. But currently, in a startup, we have to pay the electricity, the rental fee, and also the salary of the colleagues. Okay, even myself don't get the salary, they need the salary, right? And so we start the journey like this. Okay, and I think we are very lucky. This is the first product that we finally come up after working for exactly almost 2 years. Yes, and we are very lucky is that last year, because this device is very different, when I joined this company, we start to think about the strategies and the positioning of the company. Because you can see that today's in market, when you're talking about wearable, what will you think about? What will come up in your mind immediately for wearable? iWatch, Fitbit, Xiaomi, right? If we are going to jump into some healthcare wearable, then how are we going to beat Xiaomi, right, for cost? How are we going to beat iWatch or Fitbit in terms of branding? We have nowhere to go, right? So when we comes together, we think that I would like to think a bit different in the wearable. So we start focus on medical grade wearable. Okay, and this is the device that you see, the first product that we have developed. And we focus on the medical is because we think that the wearable is not only need to be looks good, okay? It's not only need to be very comfortable, but very important is it needs to be very accurate. Okay? And so we shoot for we aim pretty high at that moment. And when people meet us and knows that we would like to develop a medical grade wearable, they feel very surprised because it takes a lot of money, time, and patience, okay, in order to get all kind of certificate like in FDA, in CE, you have to go through all this hustle and the clinical trials. But we think that if we are not going to shoot for the medical, then we better not to make it, not to do it. Okay, so we go for the medical. And also, of course, thanks to the hard working of the team, we get the, we call the ISO 13485, which is a ISO standard that you must get in order to develop, manufacturers, and sales and marketing of medical devices. And so within 1 year, a little bit more than 1 year, we get the ISO 13485 at the first step and milestone for our company. And then we start the application of the FDA, and we are lucky enough. And last Saturday, we just received the information, the confirmation from the FDA that all our review has been passed, and we are looking forward to get the paper and confirmation letters in 2 to 3 weeks, and so that we can start the sales of the device. And more lucky is, I think this month is May, I think a month ago, and we are very lucky as well because this year we joined the ICT Award with the product, and we joined 2 categories. One is the smart living, and another is the startup. At that moment, we just think that wherever we can meet the criteria, then we throw the application because this is free. Okay, so we throw the application and do the presentation, but we are lucky enough, okay, to win both the Grand Award in both the smart living and also the startup. And even more lucky is that after getting the Grand Award in 2 categories, then we fight for the final one, which is the Award of the Year. And then at that moment, we think that, oh, 8 category, out of 8 category, we have 2 spaces already. We may have chance, okay? So we put some more effort. And then we are lucky enough again, and we get the Award of the Year in the ICT Award. And so finally, we get 5 awards in that night in HKUST. The award to us is not only the marketing. What I would like to share is more important is to the whole team, okay? Because a lot of people will ask is, if I want to start a startup, why you want to have a startup? You know what the answer usually people have? They want to be free. They don't want to have the boss, okay? They work for themselves, okay? But when you start the startup, it is not the criteria that determine you're going to run a startup. Because after you start the journey, it is very difficult to stop, unless you're a one-man band, okay? The company only have yourself, okay? You can close the company anytime you want. That's okay, okay? That's the criteria that I mentioned. You are your own boss, you can work freely, and you can do whatever you want. But if you are going to have a startup with your employee, that's not what you are going to do, okay? You will find that after you start a startup, you are busier than you ever be, okay? And you are not only working 9 to 6, okay? You are working 7/24, okay? And there are thousands of problems every day or challenge every day waiting you to solve, okay? You are not only taking care of the technical stuff, but all the admin, finance, legal, all kinds of things that you can name it, including finding who to clean the toilet. Okay, and that's the stuff you need to take care. Okay, back to that. When I've talked about is when we think about we would like to make the medical wearable, then we have to design what direction that we are going to make. And at that moment, we found that if we would like to go for medical grade, heart rate is not good enough, right? Because by wearing just the iWatch, your Fitbit, or your Xiaomi, okay, you'll be able to get all this information. So what we are going to shoot. At the moment, we saw that there are quite a number of people, especially due to the aging population, a lot of people have the issue of we call the sleep apnea. So have anyone heard about the sleep apnea? Sleep apnea, so you are very young, so you never heard about the sleep apnea. Because sleep apnea will, unless you are a obese people, sleep apnea will usually more people will have this issue when they are over the age of 40. Okay. And sleep apnea means that while you're sleeping, you have a very loud sound of snoring. Okay. And also, you will find that the person next to you will stop breathing in the middle. Okay. Or when you wake up, you find that your throat is very dry, or you fall asleep whenever you get into any transportation. Okay. Some people who are very serious, even they are speaking in a meeting, they can fall asleep. Okay. And so, but at that moment, we found that people usually when they need to diagnose whether they have this problem of sleep apnea, they need to queue for a long time to get into a hospital and to get all the 16 sensors on your body to have the test we call the PSG in order to diagnose whether you have the sleep apnea. If you are lucky enough with all these 16 sensors, you can fall asleep. Okay, congratulations, at the end, you'll get a report 1 month later after the doctor see all the data, and 1 month later, they will tell you whether you have this problem. Okay, but if you are not used to the environment there and cannot get asleep, so sorry, you have to come back again and do another test. Because sleep apnea will only happen with people who fall asleep. Okay, if you're awake, so sorry, you cannot get it. Okay, so at that moment, we come up with the design of the ring so that we hope that before you go to sleep, you wear this ring, and then we record all your heart rate, your oxygen in your blood, and so that the data can be transferred to the cloud, and then we can analyze the pattern, and then to see how many times of stop breathing that you have throughout the night, and to see whether further action need to be taken. And this become our first product. And here is give you a sample of the sleep report that usually we give to laymen. Okay, for doctors, we will have a more detailed report. And you can see that from the design, we are the first one in the ring factors. Have you ever been to a hospital or clinic, you see people to clip a large clip at the fingertips? Yeah, and that is the pulse oximeter, okay, which have similar function as collecting the oxygen saturation as the ring is doing, okay? But the major difference is that after you wear the ring, when you sleep, even you hit the person next to you, the ring will not fall out, okay? And this is the design that we come up with. And then at that moment, before at the beginning, we are pretty focused on the design and the hardware. Okay. From the hardware, when you simply look at the ring, you may not be able to imagine how difficult to make a hardware device into market. Okay. I can let you know that in order to get this ring, you can come and have a try later after the talk. In order to get the ring into mass production, indeed, our colleagues have stayed in China factory for almost 3 months, okay, in order to get it done, because the ring, the size, and the shape is too special, okay, and the failure rate and the yield is very low at the beginning, okay. But in order to launch a product into market, what you need to do is not only make one sample that can work, okay, but you need to make sure that at least the yield need to be 95% or above. Okay, it's not only from the PCB, but from final assembly, okay, to final testing. And so we spend a lot of time in polishing the hardware. But then, when we come up the business model, we found that by just selling the hardware is not a long-term, is not a sustainable income to the company. Okay, and also, we all understand that by the hardware, it's very difficult for us to protect the IP, right? Because after I sell it in the market for 1 month, I'm very sure you will find a similar thing in Taobao in 1 month, okay? So what we are going to do is we are going to lock our IP in our cloud. Okay. What you need to do today is you measure it very accurately, and then we do all the analysis and the report and the AI in the cloud. Okay. So even though you can copy exactly the same of the hardware, you would not be able to have the big data at the end in the cloud to perform the analysis for the sleep patterns and also whether you have the issue of sleep apnea. And this sleep report, you can see that we will summarize all the data. Once you upload the data, in 5 minutes, a PDF will be sent to your notebook or your mobile phone, the number that you provide us, so that we can come up whether you have the risk of the sleep apnea. And another one is we perform a lot of mental stress analysis for people. Okay. And you can see that for this figure, you may not be able to see the time zone for different zone, that people sleep, but it is a summary for people to know that whether they have too much stress. Okay, that means even during their sleep, they still very focused. Okay, and they may need some measure in order to get themselves to be relaxed. And this, in addition to the sleep apnea market, this creates another very huge market for us. And so indeed, finally, when we evolve and also we try to build up and scale up the company, we have divided into two different categories. And we have a whole team of hardware engineers who are working very hard on the sensors, on the packaging, on how to improve the signal extraction. And at the same time, we keep building another area is in the AI, okay, which on the biostatistic, on the AI algorithm, the deep learning, so that we'll be able to auto-screen different kinds of chronic disease. And currently, we are focusing on the sleep health of the people. And next step and next product, we are going to focus on cardiovascular disease. And so I think I have shared a bit on the progress of our company. And this milestone is what I would like to share with you, is especially students would like to run their startup. You can see that indeed before you come up the idea or become your own boss or plan for a startup, you need to think ahead, okay, for what kind of milestone that you are going to achieve, okay? And for example, you can see that the youngsters start the company in April. I joined them in August in 2016. And you can see that in 2016 and to early 2017, we are basically coming up the ideas of what we are going to do, okay? And it takes a while in order to think about what you are going to do. And then after that, our company is a bit different because we put a lot of effort in regulatory, in clinical trial. And if you are doing some consumer products, then you will have a much relaxed milestone, doesn't like this one. And so you can see that being your own boss, you are very busy, okay? You have to plan ahead a lot of stuff, the resources that you need, the key milestone that you need to achieve, because these are all the questions that you will encounter if you are going out to look for funding from the investors. Okay. Okay, so as I promised, I'm going to share some of the figures and the memories that we have. Indeed, we are still very green. We are just have our 2nd anniversary, I think 2 weeks ago. Okay, and you can see that we start our office in a very small office in Fo Tan, okay, which is about 200 square feet. Okay, I think 1/4 here. Okay, we have 5 people sitting there for 9 months. Okay, and because there's some tong fong, okay, in the industrial building, okay, with some relatively low cost, and also you can see that it's not too messy by then because we need to take the photo. And you can see that we get all the second-hand furniture, electronics appliance, that kind of stuff to build this office. Okay, we stayed there for 9 months, and then we found that we need to play the musical chairs. Okay, because when I go out, then they have the seat. If I don't go out, they don't have enough seat. Okay, so we start to move. Okay, and so we moved to another larger area, which is about, I think, 800 square feet. Okay, a very huge expansion. Okay, it's also in Fo Tan. Okay, because you are very lucky because you are students in HKUST. If you are going to get an office in Science Park, it's much more straightforward. Okay, for our case, when I first applied for the office in Science Park, they told me, oh, yours is not a medical devices. You are not biotech. Go out, go out, go out. Okay, and so I resubmit my application again, and then in the second time, I got it. Okay, so we stayed at Fo Tan for about 1.5 years, okay, before we moved into Science Park. And indeed, in Science Park, we just stayed there for I think we moved in Science Park in July 2017. So we are less than 1 year there. Yes. Here you can see that the left one is our investor. And the middle one is my old boss. Okay. I invited him to join us for the opening. Okay, because I need to cheer up my colleagues. Okay. Yes, the very little pig is there. Yeah, because we found that a large pig will waste it. Okay, so we get a very little pig here there, not to waste the stuff. Yes. And so after move in Science Park, then we are very lucky, and just then we get the ICT Award. And this is 2 weeks ago. We celebrate with the colleagues because we really need some motivation, because after so many months working 7/24, it's time for the colleagues to enjoy, have some relaxing moment. And basically, this is the overall development of our company. So what we'd like to share today is that I think it is good to run a startup. But at the same time, I do think before you graduate, if you really want to run a startup, you really learn the soft skills that you need. Okay. Yeah, because running a company is not as simple as you think. Okay, and I do appreciate the time, although I think I have been staying in S3 for a little bit too long, for 11 years. I'm too lazy, I think. I stay in S3. And, but working in a company, you will be able to learn the skill that you really need when you need to run for your startup. And don't think that is just a very simple job, because you need the courage to move forward. Okay, you need the problem-solving skills. Okay, and also you need your selling skill in order to sell your proposal and to get the funding from the investor. Okay, and try whatever, pick whatever means that you have the chance to get out to learn more skills. Okay, because I can ensure that this is the first time that you have in your life when you are in the university. Okay, life is too busy whenever you start your career. Okay, so when you are students, not only the academic, okay, just try to join different kind of extracurricular activities. Through that, you will really learn how to communicate with people, how to present your ideas. Because especially when you run the startup, you are under very tense environment. Okay, and this will make your decision wrong, and it will make you lose your temper. It will make you to say something you shouldn't say. Okay, so it's very important that throughout, but I think the training in UST is very good, okay? Especially when you are as an undergraduate, right? Every week you will have a lot of homework to hand in, a lot of quizzes, and then followed by midterms, and then the exams, okay? But all of this is very good when you look back. Okay, when you look back, I must highlight. When you look back, you will feel that HKUST indeed provide you a very good foundation, okay, for all the technical skills, okay. But of course, if you have more time than enough, then you should do more than your academic. And so, of course, very important time. Very important time, you're right. And indeed, we are actively recruiting, expanding ourselves, and we are expanding our office. It doesn't look like the full-time ones, okay? We have a very nice office, though still a bit crowded in Science Park currently. And we are actively recruiting people from all different levels, from interns to engineers, to senior engineers, to principal engineers. Okay, in the area from hardware to embedded system, biomedical signal process, especially signal processing, okay, and also the data science, okay. But I know that UST have lots of good startup, okay. So the reason why you want to join us, right? The reason you want to join us is because we are working in the medical area, okay. We are helping ourselves and also people in the world. And give you some example is, I never imagined myself have the sleep apnea until I make this product. Okay, I make this product, so I need to test it every night. But I found that indeed, with my BMI, I'm very active in jogging before the startup and running. I never imagined that I myself have the sleep apnea until I make the devices. So it's not only helping myself, but also the world. And also some of our investors, because they want to try what they invested. And some of them never thought that they have the sleep apnea. And they found that they have the sleep apnea. Okay, so if you join us, then you are really doing something meaningful to the human being, right? So if you are interested, come and find me, or just send your CV directly to our HR. Okay, but indeed, HR is me. Okay. Okay, so advertising finished. I left some 15 to 20 minutes for any Q&A. I'm very long guest. Yes, this is my content. Yes, yes, 2 questions.
How did the name of your company come about? What does it mean?
Very good question. Yes, we have remind CE on the stage to name our company name correctly. Indeed. Because when she come to our booth, she spelled our name wrongly. So on the stage, before she got onto the stage, then we remind her that the company name is called Belun. Indeed, it's a German. Okay, it's a German, which means that a ring with superpower. Okay, it appeared in an opera. Okay, and at that moment, originally it's just a ring for healthcare. Then it has become a medical grade. Then it's have an even better meaning for belong. And belong is pronounced in German and French.
After you find out what you're going to do about it.
Yes.
I mean, after you find out where you have the problem.
Yes. What you're going to do, right? Yeah. Good question. Indeed, if you have the sleep apnea and your BMI is abnormal, that means you have obesity. Then the first thing and most effective thing is you start exercise and to reduce your BMI. And we found that this is the most effective ways in order to reduce the number of stop breathing events during your sleep. Okay, but if like me, I think my BMI cannot be lower even, but I keep lowering, right? And then what you need to do is to wear the respiration machine. Okay, and the respiration machine currently is significantly, we help different people who wear or without wearing the respiration machine. They found that the number of events will reduce significantly. But if you don't want to wear a respiration machine, then you can have the operation. Okay. But the operation, I have seen once. Okay, the operation is just like you are an EE student, so you know what is a soldering iron, right? Okay, doing the operation is very simple. Okay, just get a very tiny soldering iron into your mouth. Okay, and then you will get rid of some hanging muscle. Okay, or they call that the electronic knife. Okay, but indeed when you look at it and say, oh, electronic knife, indeed it is a soldering iron. Okay, the soldering iron will get rid of the redundant muscle around your the neck, and so that you have a much better opening for the airway, so that you won't get this apnea. But the problem is there's a chance that it will grow again. So it comes to market for us because we need to monitor and see whether that regrows again, and need to do the operation again. And this is not from me; it's from the doctors. Okay. Yeah, and the fourth thing is much better now because there are some dentists. Okay, they will make some plastic that you can put into your mouth before you go to sleep. Okay, so that you can open up your airway, and so that you can solve partially the problem. But those plastic will only be effective to mild, not very serious sleep apnea. For very serious sleep apnea, the only thing that you can do is either the operation or the respiration machine. So usually when I go out, usually I would say I'm a PhD in EE. Okay, I'm not a PhD in MD. Okay. Yes.
Yes, I just as a customer, how do you evaluate accuracy? Because how can I, as a customer, trust that such a light wearable device can give me an accurate evaluation compared with all the complex things in the hospital?
Very good question indeed. That's the reason why we need to be medical grade. Why we need to be medical grade is because we need to complete clinical trials in different countries. And also we will submit the clinical trial result to the regulatory and to FDA. And the reason why we get the FDA, even though it's very expensive, okay, because making an FDA, even you change the screen, the letter in the screen, then you need to redo everything again. But still, with that logo, with that certificate, you can prove to others that you have completed a clinical trial for different population, your device is still accurate. And currently, our device will be 90% accurate when compared with you wearing all these 16 sensors when you sleep in a sleep lab. Yeah, and this is how we go through the FDA.
And another question that how different is at the very beginning, how can you attract those intelligent engineer, like hardware and software? How can you attract them to work with you? Is your friends or like for a long time they trust you, or because startup company are easy to like how to say.
Understand, because I seldom can receive CV even I do the promotion in university. Indeed, I'm very lucky. As I mentioned, I have been working in S3 for 11 years. Before I left S3, I have 20 colleagues in my team. Okay, and currently out of the 15 people in my team, 8 of them are from my previous team in S3. And that's how we get them. And we get them, and then they will try to get their classmate. They will try to call their classmate. Do we want to do something meaningful to the mankind? Yes, of course, right? So they leave the iBank and join us for the AI section. That's really true story. That's really true story. Because after they're working more than 10 years in banking, okay, they think that they earn enough. That's very important, right? And so they join us and helping us in the AI algorithm development team currently. Yes. Indeed, connection is very important. So the one sitting next to you currently may be your partners. And the one sitting next to you and in front of you can be your colleagues.
I have a question that you mentioned you already passed the FDA.
Yes.
At the very beginning, you don't think about that. And then how you plan about the ROI for that?
Oh, the ROI. Indeed, as I mentioned, because if we have no choice at that moment, indeed, either we do it or we are going to not to do it. Because if you are just purely this is what I told the 2 young engineers when I met them after I left S3. Because if doing something that already exists in the market, there's no differentiation at all. Comparative pricing would not be able to beat Xiaomi. Okay. In terms of branding, would not be able to beat Apple and Fitbit, who are listed company. Okay. So we must find some point that differentiate ourselves from the others. And so when they would like to do healthcare, then healthcare come to medical. And also, of course, very important advantage that I myself have is that when I was working in S3, I was taking lead for the medical development. So indeed, in S3, I'm the one who helped S3 to get the ISO 13485 when I was there back in 2010. So I go through the process once already when I was in S3. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to turn a ISO 13485 from R&D scope to manufacturing, to sales and marketing, plus R&D. Yeah. And so that's why I say, but my view is a bit different. Doesn't mean that all people who are running a startup need to have very strong industrial background. It doesn't mean that. Just because I chose medical, okay? And that's why experience is very important to me. And that's the advantage that I have before joining the startup.
Yeah, so curious about the company. Like you already have one device, one product.
Yes.
Do you plan to add more features on that product, or you want to build another product?
Wow, this is a very good question. For the ring, when we developed at the beginning, we think that we'll focus on the sleep health. But along the path in the past 2 years, when the database become larger and larger, we have all kinds of patients. Okay. And currently, we found that the ring not only tell you about your sleep quality and whether you have ulcer, but more importantly, recently is that we found people with very serious we call the arrhythmia. I'm not sure if you have heard about that. Arrhythmias means that you have an irregular heartbeats, okay? And some people, when they do in the daytime for the ECG, even under a running treadmill, they don't have this arrhythmia. But when they get into sleep, they have very serious arrhythmia. And we catch numerous serious patients and ask them to consult the cardiovascular. So currently, from the big database, we are building models in order to help people to screen all these kind of cardiovascular risks. So we are from the sleep health, stepping into the cardiovascular. And also, indeed, this match the second product that we are going to launch in the market. And the second product is indeed the technologies that I developed back in S3 time. And so, indeed, we have licensed technologies from S3 now, and we develop it into product. Okay, and so by the end of this year, you will see that we are going to launch our second product, which is focused on the cardiovascular health. But of course, you can see that no matter the sales channel or the technical skills that we built before, will be very useful for us to go through these milestones.
Thank you for the talk. And I have a question about how do you spend almost 1 year to decide what to do first up, and I'm curious how do you how do you finally decide which product you want to deliver to the market, and also the technology part, do you have the technology right before you start or you you develop the technology after the startup?
A very good question. Indeed, looking back into the milestone, indeed, we don't have 1 year time to think about what we are going to develop. Because every day when you briefing, you are losing the money, okay? So what we need to do is, within 3 months, we need to determine whether we go or not. And so you are much more lucky, okay? You are still a student. If you would like to form your own startup before you graduate, think about it, okay? Do all your market search, the product search, and also the IP search. Okay, don't make something when you make it ready, then there's product already. Okay, so but to us, we are still okay because I have been working in S3 for 11 years, so I still have some bullet in my pocket, right? So I can without salary for a year. Okay, but still within 3 months we have to determine the direction of the company. But of course, the business model, everything, is not think about at all. Okay, at that moment. But at least we have to keep the thing going to have some prototype. And so that I think if you read some startup book, they will tell you that you need to make some MVP, right? The minimum viable product to get the feedback, okay? And today, we have numerous 3D printing machines in our office. So every day you can make something new to get the feedback from the market. And so indeed, we take about 6 months, okay, to finalize all the spec and everything for the product already. Yeah. And so the time cannot be that long, but as a student, of course, you can. Yes. But again, the thing is not everything start from zero for our case. Okay. Because for myself, I have been working in the medical field since 2008. Okay, so before I left S3, I've been working in medical field for 8 years. Yeah, and some ideas are in my mind, and some knowledge is in my mind. And also when I look for some supports or some factory, and I have that connections already.
So, as a medical wearable devices, especially used in the nighttime, why the aesthetics is still an issue that you need to consider as important as the comfort and accuracy.
The design, you mean?
Yeah, you mentioned you have listed aesthetics, comfort, and accuracy.
Okay. It's still important is because when you launch a product, okay, when we go to the CES show this year in Las Vegas, in this just only the special shape. No, people doesn't know what this. People call it a crab. Okay, when they look at the crab shape, they are interested to go to your booth already. Okay, to see what's doing. Okay, and so you cannot make something very lousy. Okay, in terms of design, it's not only the outlook. Okay, how you make it to be very compact. And you can come and have a try after the talk. Is that when you wear it, very important is especially when you sleep. You don't feel that you're really wearing. And this is very important. When you wear the watch, if it is very loosened, then you won't feel comfortable and you don't sleep well. And after a week, you will get rid of this stuff. Okay. Oh, no, it's not only about the comfort issue, it's also the design. Okay. The design is very important because when you try it, then you will feel that even no matter how you move your hand, then you don't feel that it will stop your motion. And that's the design. And we do spend a lot of money in order to get this design done and to make it to be manufactured. Because usually it looks good, but it cannot be manufactured in the factory. And that's the issue and challenge that we faced before. Come and feel it.
So when you have the research related to the product, like can you, of course you cannot directly apply it without any change or some, yeah. Was there any polishment you did to apply it to the product when it was research level and then now
It's a very good question. Indeed, the reason, I think I'm very lucky because I start my academic in HKUST, and before I get into the industry, I go to S3. Okay, S3 is a bit different from industry, okay, because they perform applied research. Okay, that means they will try to get the state-of-the-art technologies, and at the same time, we will study the feasibilities of getting these technologies into commercialization. Okay, so we interact a lot with factory, okay, and with the customers, and so that we will be able to study whether this approach is feasible or not. Of course, when I was back in the day in S3, a lot of projects, when we do it, we found that finally it's not commercialized, cannot be commercialized. And these are procedures before you perform research and to step into applied research or finally the commercialization of the product. And it takes some time to do that.
most important thing that does not go to product? That's the thing that
I would say reliability. Okay, because usually when I was performing, like before back to my PhD thesis, I was building some devices on wafer. Okay, I go to clean room almost every day. Okay, when I was go there, out of the 200 chips or devices that I make, just one functioning. I get the measurement, and then I get the publication. Right, that's research. Okay. That's the research, right? I was very excited, okay? But when I get into the industry, the first project I do finally is we call system and package, a very small size chips that you will be able to have the ultra wideband maybe, to make the ultra wideband system and package. Okay, at that moment, I was very green because when I joined S3 for 3 months, and then I fly to the US and get that business back. Initially, I think that is very simple because we just put the chips together just like the memory. To me, it seems very, very simple, right? After I graduate, I deal with all kinds of chips. But when I start that project, I need to communicate with different kinds of subcontractors. Then I found that this is not the world that I was working back in MFF. NFF now, okay? Okay, when I get interaction with the industry, I found that all the things that I draw in the computer cannot be realized in the factory. Okay, and the thing that's a learning process I need to learn. And from that, I take another 6 months in order to redesign everything. But I'm very lucky because, and then one night when I was in S3 testing that chips, suddenly it works, okay? But unfortunately, it doesn't like writing the paper, right? I need to get, for the 10 chips, at least 8 need to be work in order to get it to be manufactured. So the major gap between fundamental research and also the commercialization is on all the manufacturability, reliability. Even for software, 10 people use it, it's work, right? But finally, like the Standard Chartered Marathon a few years ago, right? When you apply it, just 100 people to apply it in the system, it works, right? When 100,000 people apply at the same time, then the whole system hang out, right? and being complained. And that's when you scale up. Everything is different. The difference from what the code that you are writing today in your computer. Last question.
Thank you for your wonderful talk and your wonderful answers to your questions.
Yes, thank you very much.
I know you can't forget UST, but there are some souvenirs here from UST.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, please don't stop asking questions, but if you would like to leave for some reason,
Yeah,
you're welcome to
yeah,
do so.
sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.